Hello everyone, you're watching Brass Tacks with me, Maria Shakil, at a time when the nation is battling a deadly coronavirus, at a time when most of us have united to fight this animal against whom we are all feeling the heat together. There are many who are using this as an opportunity to make gains, who are almost acting like vultures, preying on distress and misery of fellow Indians. Like vultures preying on the dead, many unscrupulous and heartless people have started making profit from this pandemic, from raising the rates of ambulance services to black marketing of life-saving drugs. These people have left no stone unturned in making a penny from someone's misery. Hoarding of oxygen cylinders while states gasp for it, to stocking up on medicines and selling them at a higher price. These COVID vultures are exploiting the desperate and needy for anything. We bring you an expose showing how these malpractices are being carried out and how the states have been left with no other option but to invoke the National Security Act. With lives being lost every second, we as a nation must unite and say that our pain is not for profit, and it is high time to jail these vultures. First the story, then I bring in my guests.
They hoard medicines that can save you. They bleed you dry when asked to take you to the hospital. They inflate the prices of simple devices that can keep you safe. They even stop you from being able to afford the jab of life. This is a nation of vultures, feasting on the miseries of their own countrymen. But now it seems enough really is enough. The Madhya Pradesh cops have cracked down on a massive black marketing racket over remdesivir, the drug that makes a difference over life and death. But the cops were unsparing. Each one of these 21 who have been arrested were booked under stringent provisions of the National Security Act. Because after all, this is a matter of the nation's safety. The MP model of slapping NSA on hoarders can actually be applied to the black marketing trade of remdesivir across the country.
जिन्होंने रेमडेसिविर की कालाबाजारी की है उनके खिलाफ हमने एनएसए के तहत कार्रवाई की है। पूरे प्रदेश में हमने 21 एनएसए लगाए हैं, जिसमें से 20 वो लोग हैं जिन्होंने कालाबाजारी की है रेमडेसिविर की। एक वो व्यक्ति है जिसने ऑक्सीजन को लेकर भी गलत प्रैक्टिस की थी।
In Bhagalpur, for instance, where a man was found selling the drug in black.
चाह रहा था कि मृत व्यक्ति के नाम पर हम रेमडेसिविर लॉट करा करके और उसको गलत तरीके से हम ले करके और उसको मार्केट में ऊंचे दाम पर बेचें।
Or also in Patna, where the Economic Offences Unit conducted raids on hoarders.
अभी हमारे ड्रग इंस्पेक्टर का भी पूरा वो जांच कर रहे हैं अंदर, क्या कितने इंजेक्शन अलॉट हुए हैं, गवर्नमेंट की तरफ से कितना अलॉट किया गया है और कितने पेशेंट को मिले हैं, क्या वो सारे पेशेंट को दिए गए हैं या कहीं किसी बैकडोर से कहीं चले गए हैं, ये सारे हम लोग भी जांच कर रहे हैं।
Or even in Kanpur, where the police busted a racket where remdesivir was sold at 20 times the market price.
मेडिकल उपकरणों को महंगे दामों में बेचते हुए गिरफ्तार किया गया है। घटना इस प्रकार की है कि गणेश मेडिकल स्टोर के मालिक सीताचरण के द्वारा उनके मेडिकल रिप्रेजेंटेटिव अंशु और एक एजेंट अमरीश के द्वारा ये रेमडेसिविर को ब्लैक मार्केटिंग में 35 से 40 हज़ार रुपए में बेचा जा रहा था।
And it's not just remdesivir itself. CNN News 18 had shown you how the police in Nashik had busted a racket selling tocilizumab injections worth 40,000 rupees at 10 times the price. That is at rupees 4 lakh per injection. It's not even expensive and rare medicines. Even the humble and ubiquitous oximeter is now being sold at prices of up to 10 times the normal rate. Consider it a desperation tax. And forget medicines, even a ride to the hospital to save the lives of your loved ones could cost you more than 1,000 rupees per kilometer.
अंदाजा हमको पता है।
कन्फर्म लोकल चार्ज है जो उसका 5 से 6 कोविड है ना, 6,000।
There are two Indias at work today. One comprising of COVID heroes who are putting their life and livelihood on hold to save the lives of their fellow citizens, and the other a nation of vultures looking at profiteering from those who are suffering. Today we ask, just like the Madhya Pradesh police has done, should there not be a nationwide crackdown to impose the NSA on any criminal who benefits off this massive nationwide tragedy? After all, our pain can't be their profit. Bureau Report, CNN News 18.
Our pain is not for profit. Our misery is not for sale. This is what I'm going to take it up. Let me bring in the guests. Yashvardhan Azad, former IPS officer. Dr. Professor D.S. Rana is the chairman of Sir Gangaram Hospital here in the national capital. We are being joined by relatives of two patients, Pragati Singh, joining me from Sasaram in Bihar. Danish Sheikh is joining me from Bengaluru. We also have Madhya Pradesh's Health Minister Vishwas Sarang. Mr. Sarang, सबसे पहला सवाल आपसे मैं पूछूंगी, क्या जरूरत पड़ी आपकी सरकार को NSA इन्वोक करने की जबकि एपिडेमिक एक्ट ऑलरेडी इन प्लेस है? क्या ये नहीं है कि ये जब सब बड़े बड़े वर्ड्स होते हैं और ये आपकी सरकार की खुद की कमी दिखा रही है, जब आपने खुद तैयारी नहीं की है तभी ये ब्लैक मार्केटिंग हो रही है?
नहीं, देखिए ये इसमें साधन संसाधन की कमी के कारण यदि कोई कालाबाजारी कर रहा है ऐसा नहीं है। देखिए ये समाज में एक ऐसा वर्ग है जो कि आपदा में भी अवसर ढूंढता है और ऐसे लोगों पर तो सख्त से सख्त कार्रवाई ही जरूरी है, क्योंकि इसी से संदेश जाता है और इसी से इस तरह की जो बैड हैबिट्स हैं वो समाज में रुकती हैं।
आपदा में अफसर, यशवर्धन आजाद, very very fancy words. NSA invoke हो रहा है and epidemic act is already in place. I'm trying to understand what purpose does it serve if the state governments are not really prepared, and crackdown of this nature at this point, if it is not about adding further distress to people. How do you solve the problem of people who are desperate? If there is shortage of medicine, what do? Should they not buy it at any cost to save the lives of their loved ones?
Well, you see, Maria, tragedies of this kind bring out the best and the worst amongst the people. And this is a time when I have clearly supported the use of NSA in such cases. You see, there is, of course, the Essential Commodities Act, which can be used, where there is a provision and there is a penalty even for a prison term of 7 years that can be used. But you see, NSA, National Security Act, also has a non-military dimension. And the health security, security of the people, if you're playing with the lives of people by hoarding or black marketeering, I mean, the states have a right definitely to use the National Security Act. And I'm all for it. In fact, this is a time when some of the very, very important cases, high-profile cases like you've seen in Delhi, in Khan Market, where the hoarding was done openly right under the seat of the government.
Yes.
This is where National Security Act should be used as a salutary example to the others, because people with high connections and who are indulging in this deserve to be taken under the NSA Act. Of course, there are a slew of acts which can be used. You have the Essential Commodities Act, you have the prevention of black marketing and maintenance under the Essential Commodities, you have the Disaster Management Act. But NSA is tough, but it keeps you for 12 months because this is an action which is prejudicial against the state. So I would not say that it has been used wrongly.
Okay. Dr. D.S. Rana, of course, you were among those hospitals in the national capital which had appealed to the center, to the nodal officers, to the Delhi government that they needed oxygen. I'm sure the oxygen supply has now been relatively streamlined. With this invocation of NSA, because there is shortage of remdesivir in particular, one of the critical drugs, antiviral drug here, what are your views? Is such such stringent law needed at this point? Because whatever said and done, the fact is that the right to life is under threat of countless Indians who have been denied beds, who have been denied basic health amenities.
Maria ji, whenever there is a huge gap between supply and demand, then this black marketing and hoarding will take place now. And these people are very small number. We must appreciate that a lot of people, majority people are honest and they're working very hard to bring normalcy and fighting this war actually. But at the same time, whenever such thing happen, then administrative machinery and plus law enforcement agencies, they have to be more vigilant. And if they are more vigilant, and even if we are imposing act like NSAs, that will produce little quite deterrence, and minimize the problem. And such things, I think, become necessary. Otherwise, there's a small number of people, those who are taking undue advantage of the situation, they will continue to promote. So that is what I say, ki whatever one particular state thing, whether NSA or without NSA, people, those who are doing this work, whether dealing with shortage of, whether dealing with black marketing of drugs, black marketing or oxygen centers, or even selling the beds of the hospital or whatsoever hanky-panky business they are doing, they must be punished to the max extent possible.
Yes, they should be punished, they should be taught a lesson, because this is not the time. Your profit should not be coming at the cost of somebody's lives, and that is what is happening. Pragati is joining me from Sasaram in Bihar, and she had trouble with hospital admission and also ambulance service for her grandfather. Go ahead, tell us your story, Pragati.
And has been extremely critical since then. First few days when situation started deteriorating, we took him to Patna from Sasaram, as there is absolutely nothing in small towns. If you are from a small town, sorry to say this, but you are doomed. Nothing can save you. But we being upper middle class, we had connections with big shot doctors, people that we knew in Patna. So my uncle in Patna, he has connections with people. He had to call and beg every doctor, every hospital, every person he knew, every powerful person he knew, and nothing still seemed to help. For a couple of days, we managed at a family doctor's place, but situation kept worsening. My nana needed ventilators. We couldn't find a hospital with a vacant bed or ventilator for a week, and situation got completely out of hand. We didn't know where to find a bed. We didn't know where to find plasma. We didn't know where to find ventilator. We didn't know where to find oxygen. You can't run with your patient from hospital to hospital looking for plasma, oxygen, and ventilator, right? The only thing that was helping is people helping out each other.
Right.
My friends, cousins, and everyone was like posting on social media, sharing location of plasma, oxygen. There is a complete systemic failure, complete systemic collapse. You can blame people. People are there are cruel people, there are good people, there are bad people, but there's no system in place. We wanted to shift our nana to Apollo. We kept looking for ambulance with ventilator for hours. Ambulance drivers are charging human mana paisa. People are selling remdesivir for 50,000 rupees. Who do you think in India can afford that? If you are poor, you are going to die. Even upper middle class people are not being able to manage, and that is what is causing this panic. This is the upper middle class paradigm. No one cares for poor people. And to be fair, we aren't dying of corona. This is all because of lack of hospital and medical treatment. I'm scared to death. My parents live in Sasaram, which is like nowhere in the world. It's like remote area. Who knows where is Sasaram? And I don't know what will happen to them if they get COVID. It's a complete systemic collapse. And one thing I want to mention, I can't think of a single thing that this government has done to control this, except symbolic spectacle like Thali Bajana. The funny thing is, when people should be under lockdown and maintaining distance, we organized Kumbh Mela and elections. तो हम जनता की लाश पे अपना पॉलिटिकल एम्बिशन पूरा कर रहे हैं, और फिर हम क्या उम्मीद कर सकते हैं? यही तो हो रहा था ना, और तो कुछ हो भी नहीं सकता था. There is a complete state of helplessness and hopelessness amongst people. We are on our own. If something happens to me, something happens to my parents.
Pragati,
if I survive,
coming from the same state, I share your agony and pain. There are countless people that I know very close to me, my relatives in back of beyond of Bihar, in Jahanabad, Gaya, all of them have families who are COVID positive, and we do not know how their treatment will happen. Because as you said, remdesivir at 50,000 rupees, movement of ambulance from one city to another runs into thousands of rupees. It's an expensive, really, really very expensive treatment. Now Danish is joining me from Bengaluru. Danish, share your story.
I would like to highlight my friend's agony, pain he has gone through since April 28th. He has contacted all the government helplines, like we have the BBNP helpline here, 1912. And then if it is an emergency and if the patient needs an ICU, then we need to call 108. Now he has registered with them on April 28th, and today is April 8th, right? He has still not got a bed. His mom, his brother is already in ICU in St. Philomena's. He's running around for his mom, who is lying in a clinic with just oxygen support. She's diabetic. Doctors are telling them, they are not experts, they are doctors, normal doctors over there. They're telling him that she may have kidney issues because her feet are swollen. Now this boy has, I feel like crying right now because I feel the pain of so many. I've been flooded with calls and messages, and it's very hard to speak, but this boy has been running around since May 1st at least to get an ICU bed. Today, after like 8 days, the 108 emergency helpline calls him and tells him that we will look into it. So this is what's been happening on the ground here. We are struggling. We are normally middle class.
You know, Yashwardhan Azad, we have just two people on the show right now. Two people, same story, different cities, same agony. And I don't have any answer to them. You say that NSA invoking will ensure right to life. Can it really do that? I mean, this is about the mindset of all those who think, those ambulance operators and mortuary van operators and those who sell, remdesivir and other chemists who think that they can make profit. There's something really wrong with the mindset as well.
Absolutely right. I mean, you see, this element of criminality which creeps in during such times is because of the shortages which have been created. There's a point which I want to, bring to light just now. Even the doctors who are coming on the various channels are creating such a lot of confusion, which is creating panic and also a kind of a shortage. You know, the doctors come and say remdesivir is not required except in such and such case. Blood plasma may help, may not help. CT scan should not be used indiscriminately because they are like 300 X-rays. The point is, for an ordinary patient, when he goes, he's advised remdesivir. He's advised tocilizumab. He's advised all these things. So the doctors, instead of coming and creating panic on channels, should tell the hospitals and the doctors on call what to advise the patients. In fact, the Delhi High Court told the told Delhi government that you say remdesivir can only be available in hospitals, but if there are no beds in hospitals, what are the patients at home going to do? So the problem is that why I'm saying that NSA Act is important is, see, there are private helplines who are telling you that we'll give you oxygen cylinders. You give the money and the cylinder doesn't come. Now, this is a time to crack down on these people immediately to alleviate the shortage problem. What I'm saying is, ask the IT graduates to join the Delhi police right now to screen all these private helplines and see which ones are fraud and at least advise the people that don't go for it.
Yes, so these are solutions being proposed here, Dr. Rana. Dr. Rana, talking specifically about that drug remdesivir, of course it's not a panacea, but it is being seen as the critical drug where patients, make those very desperate calls trying to arrange for the drugs. But isn't it the responsibility and the duty of the hospitals, that not all patients require that medicine? Then why are the patients being told to procure it by themselves?
There is no doubt that there is shortage of this drug, and the government is trying its best to make up the shortage. There is some role of this drug. This is not panacea, as you rightly pointed. This is not giving anybody. But however, if you are giving to one and you are not giving to the other one, then that is not a good thing. There are clear-cut indications which I narrowed down now that if somebody is requiring oxygen and then at that time in initial period, within first week, this drug has got definite role to reduce the viral load. But that is so that probably reduces or shorten the stay in the hospital. So that is the role. But here, what is happening that You're right. I'm just looking at the person. We know the doctors are very clear in thinking that is happening, but ultimately, question is coming that if somebody is able to get it, other one is not able to get it, then they all try to get it from here and there, and they are getting black marketing. Let us admit that drug has got a certain role. Either you stop it, or if you are not stopping it, this thing is going to happen. Drug has got definitely some role. It is not that it is without role actually, but this is not something that you should spend lakhs to get this drug and this is going to make some difference. It doesn't make some difference on
let me
life
go
and
back
death.
to Vishwas Sarang. Vishwas Sarang, yes, there is a need for a crackdown, but don't you think that this legislation, this NSA Act can be also misused? It can become a tool of harassment in the hands of the cops, particularly in these tough times.
नहीं, मुझे लगता है ये बड़ा अजीब सा ही क्वेश्चन है। इस हिसाब से तो फिर हम किसी भी आरोपी पे कोई सजा दे ही नहीं सकते। वो लोग जो जीवन रक्षक रेमडेसिविर आज की तारीख में क्या है? आज रेमडेसिविर किसी कोरोना मरीज जिसको लंग्स में वायरल लोड बड़ा हो गया, उस वायरल इन्फेक्शन को ख़त्म करने के लिए एंटीवायरल दवाई है, और यदि उसकी कालाबाजारी कर रहे हैं, इसका मतलब क्या सीधे सीधे लोगों की जान पर खेल रहे हैं, लोगों को मृत्यु की ओर धकेलने का कोशिश कर रहे हैं। तो ये तो निश्चित रूप से कठोर इस पर सजा होनी चाहिए। इससे बड़ा और अपराध क्या हो सकता है कि आप मानव जाति के जीवन पर ही प्रश्न चिन्ह लगा रहे हो। मुझे लगता है कि इसमें कठोरतम कार्रवाई होनी चाहिए, और समाज में यदि ऐसे लोग हैं तो उनको सभ्य समाज में रहने का अधिकार नहीं है। निश्चित रूप से उनको जेल के पीछे ही रहना चाहिए।
Okay, Pragati, what are your thoughts? Should there be a crackdown on this rampant overcharging, black marketing that is happening? And also overpricing that has been happening in private hospitals. Of course, in certain states have put the cap on the overall treatment, but it is, still several states haven't done so.
Absolutely, there should be a crackdown, but it is one of those measures. Why are these things not available in public hospitals? Like, if there is nothing available in the public hospitals, there is no public healthcare system, then people will go out and try to find these things on their own. So you do a crackdown, but you have to make these devices, ventilators, and oxygen available to the public as well, right? So you have to have all these plans together. Hello?
And do you think the plans have not been put in place? Particularly when you had 8 months for capacity augmentation, the state governments should have done it?
Of course. It has been 1 year and there has been absolutely no planning, no notification, nothing. Even in the most capitalist country in the world, which is the United States, you are getting vaccines for free. And military is organizing camps to vaccinate the entire country. And in India, Adarsh Poonawalla is making a profit of 450 rupees per vaccine in India. And in India right now, we are selling vaccine and we are exporting vaccine. So what did we do in 1 year? Nothing, absolutely nothing. So right now it's just a knee-jerk reaction. Oh, we will crack down, we will have to stop, black marketing, we have to stop all these people. You have a correct system in place. You didn't do any preparation in 1 year, and now you can't shift the blame on the vultures only. The government has been sitting idle, doing nothing except a spectacle, which was Thali Badana.
I'll give the final words to Yashwardhan Azad. Yashwardhan Azad, Pragati is in a lot of agony and pain, and she is saying that don't put the blame purely on the vultures. Time for governments to also take the blame of lack of preparations in preparing for the second wave, which was inevitable.
There is no doubt, Maria, and I feel the government has really failed. And not only the central government, but the state governments too. There were 11 empowered committees headed by the so-called secretaries or babus who were supposed to address all the infrastructural needs in the face of the coming second wave. Everyone was talking about the second wave. And one of them had the common sense to also say that we have to ramp up the oxygen capacity because, as WHO had said, that ramping up oxygen capacity is basically the cornerstone of, anti-COVID therapy. In November, the parliamentary committee said that there is a shortage of oxygen, ICU beds, etc., and nothing was done. There are states, like for example, Odisha who's supplying oxygen, Chhattisgarh supplied oxygen, Kerala, and there was this young collector in Nandarbar who set up 3 oxygen plants. So, we have the same system of the health babus running the various states. Nobody wants to change anything. Why can't there be a national task force today headed by Gadkari, who's acceptable to the states, and somebody like Devi Shetty, who's the CEO of a national task force plan, so that it's seen as an unbiased group which goes into things? Why can't we have a robust management information system like the chatbot introduced in Gurgaon, where people get help immediately on one phone call? So there are too many things which need to be done. And I agree with Pragati of the frustration. I also belong to Bihar, and I've lost 2 relatives to COVID. So I understand the pain and the anguish. And I think it's about time we should do something.
These are not statistics
drastic.
anymore, Yashwardhan Azad. These are relatives of ours in every family. I mean, this is how close it has hit us. Thank you so much for joining us, Danish, Pragati, Dr. Rana, Yashwardhan Azad, and Vishwas Sarang. Thank you for sharing your perspective on the show. And as Yashwardhan Azad was talking about, there's a national task force that has been set up now by the Supreme Court. Now, a quick wrap of all that's making news throughout the country. We are beginning with Prime Minister Narendra Modi, who participated in a European Council meeting as a special invitee via video conference with leaders of the 27-member bloc pledging support to India. European Commission President said the EU and India can achieve a lot more by working ASAP. Union Health Minister Dr. Harshvardhan chaired the 25th meeting of Group of Ministers on COVID-19, where he appealed to the citizens to not skip the second COVID vaccine dose. A detailed report on ramping up of clinical infrastructure and supply of medical oxygen was presented at this meeting. The Supreme Court has set up a national task force to streamline oxygen allocation to states across the country. The move comes in the midst of the second wave of the coronavirus that has stressed the healthcare sector and sent the demand for medical oxygen among COVID-19 patients soaring. The DCGI has given its approval to antiviral COVID drug 2G for emergency use. According to the drug trials, the 2DG helps in faster recovery and also reduces dependency on medical oxygen supplements. The medicine comes in powder form and has to be taken orally by dissolving it in water. The Union Health Ministry revised the policy for admission of COVID-19 patients to various categories of facilities for them, making it more patient-centric and patient-convenient. Requirement of a positive test for COVID-19 virus is not mandatory for admission to a COVID health facility. Furthermore, no patient will be refused services on any count in any part of the country. All the stories on news18.com. That's all from me. Thanks so much for watching.